It's time for Declare Your Independence with Ernest Hancock.
Believe me when I say we have a difficult time ahead of us. But if we are to be prepared for it, we must first shed our fear of it. I stand here without fear because I remember that I am here not because of the path that lies before me, but because of the path that lies behind me. I remember that for 100 years we have fought these machines. And after a century of war, I remember that which matters most. We are still here! Tonight, let us make them remember we are not afraid!
Declare your independence with me, Ernest Hancock, from the Southern desert west of Phoenix. What we're going to do today is we're going to introduce you to Trevor Kraus. Now, Trevor is he's associated with Students for Liberty, but more than that, he's, the face, the managing editor, director, whatever title that he has. He's the head SOB on the front page is what he is. So this has been, I got to meet him at a discussion group that we have here in the Phoenix area, and we meet monthly during, not the summer, but he gave a presentation. One of our members knew that he was in town. They had him come, and at the same time, we had what originally was Language for Liberty, and then eventually evolved into the Arizona Project under the direction of one of the students that took it over from Poland. Now, 6 to 8, usually, of students from around the world come to Arizona for, I think it's about a month and a half or so, and they get immersed in all kinds, and they're from all over the world. And, I mean, all over the world. Nepal, Pakistan, Ukraine, Czech Republic, Bolivia, Argentina. I mean, Russia. I mean, it's constantly an infiltration into Arizona from these guys, and they suck up a lot of things, mostly shooting. Everybody's got to go shooting. It's a thing. So what happened is, during that, while they were there, so we just did a show with them a couple days ago, and got 6 of them plus their den mother, which was another student before, so she wasn't that much older. So 7 people. And something came up, and we'll talk about that later. But the one thing was, Trevor was managing the meeting and doing the presentations for Students for Liberty. Now, there are some pushback, other people. It's a wide range of, it's not really hardly any liberals, but they're definitely the Republican conservative. You're doing it wrong, and you should all work and do what we want, and Trump or something. I mean, whatever it is that they do. But the thing is, Trevor really held his ground, showed what they were doing, had a lot of impact on who? How many students? You trying to get the whole student body? You're trying to find the one clique that's on your side, or that one person? You get the right person, I'll take any one of my, subscribers and put them up at 10,000 against your random out of the phone book people and whip the crap out of them. It's about finding those gems. Students for Liberty do that. And at the front of this, helping with that, managing that, inspiring that, is Trevor Kraus. So Trevor, we're going to do a little quick bio here, and then you can tell me all about it. Trevor's a writer, editor, sports fan. He grew up in St. Louis, Missouri, and after stops in Madrid, Spain, where he taught high school English, and Chicago, he's back home. He believes in the beauty and morality of free speech, free markets, and free people. On weekends, you'll probably find him traveling or golfing, yay, and certainly listening to the Beatles. I want to hold your... Anyway, the favorite figures of liberty, Frederick Bastiat, Ludwig von Mises, David Friedman, Lawrence Reed. On Students for Liberty, his introduction to Students for Liberty came at a LibertyCon Europe 2020, and ever since, I've been passionate about its mission and approach, and I love the people who comprise Students for Liberty. They inspire me to work both harder and smarter. Let's say hello to Trevor Kraus. Trevor, add to that. Tell me everything about you and why you do this.
Well, there's a new Beatles album coming out on Friday, if you can believe it. So tomorrow, as we record this, it's an album actually of outtakes and demos. So that's what's top of mind. You mentioned in my bio there that I'm a big Beatles fan. Yeah, I mean that says it all. I discovered Students for Liberty when I lived in Spain, and I just couldn't believe that there was this entire world of classical liberals, libertarians, objectivists, anarcho-capitalists, minarchists. Like it opened a window that I never even knew was there. You know, I was just reading my Rand and kind of thought I was by myself on an island. But at the Students for Liberty event, I realized there are so many more people like me and like you out there who believe in liberty and want to make the world a freer place. So I jumped in, and you know, I had studied journalism at school, and you know, I like to think I'm a pretty good writer, and I had a broadcasting background, so I know how to speak on camera. And so this opening popped up with Students for Liberty, and now I'm on the video team where I make videos for the Learn Liberty video channel on YouTube, which is owned by Students for Liberty. And I also write feature stories about some of our best and brightest students, as you mentioned, from all over the world.
Well, what is your role? I mean, you have, it was a managing director or so. I mean, you have a title of something.
I'm the managing editor, which means anything that goes out under the SFL umbrella, I'm responsible for in some way, making sure that we sound good and smart and educated and enlightened, but also that we're putting forward our students, because Students for Liberty, and highlighting their successes above all.
Well, give us the kind of the expansion of Students for Liberty. You know, is it going up, down? Do they apply? Do they send in application? They buy your hat? I mean, you know, how is it structured?
Yeah, so I mean, any college student anywhere in the world can join and start a campus group or a Students for Liberty chapter. But you do have to you sign up, you apply, but you do have to prove that you understand the basics of, you know, the ideas of liberty. So, for example, economics in one lesson by Henry Hazlitt, you get quizzed on that. You have to read The Law by Frederick Bastiat, you get quizzed on that. I, Pencil by Leonard Read, you get quizzed on that. And only then can you access some of the resources, the funding, the networking, the help that SFL provides to get your campus, your chapter, or your campus group off the ground. And so eventually we want that one really passionate and really bright and dedicated student to start a group of 5 or 10 or 20 people on their campus, host events, bring speakers in. Supper clubs like the one we met at would be a perfect example of something that a Students for Liberty volunteer or local coordinator, we call them, that's exactly what they could start on their own campus. And imagine if there were something like that at the biggest universities in the country and in the world, a monthly or weekly or biweekly, whatever, supper club where you get together and talk about economics. That would be a great start toward the goal of liberating the world and making it freer.
You know, the thing that we did from early 90s was we were heavily involved at Arizona State University. And the problem is you get somebody excited, man. They're and they start taking over and they get elected, you know, to do something, their student union thing by their senior year, and you get 1 year and they're gone, And so you have to have a constant feed in these people in an organization and group, but then you have to have faculty sponsorship. You need somebody that will do it, and the pressure that goes up against these guys was amazing. I had an intern from the Walter Cronkite School doing a radio show one time, and she did a paper on the political persuasion of all the professors there. And it was wow, and it got some notoriety and published in the lamestream media, the media so last century newspapers, and it was very pointed. Almost all liberal Democrats, that this is why, and anybody that would give any kind of support for like a Students for Liberty thing, oh, you're not welcome at the water cooler. I mean, there's an active, and this was, I went to ASU in 81. And it was, we had affirmative action, was going on, English 101. But I go to college and I sit in my seat and they're teaching me ebonics, how to be talking like the hood. I go, what the crap? So everybody thinks this woke stuff and everything is a new thing. It's not. This has been going on for a long time. Now, the material that you're using to identify, to get a college student to read a book about economics, you get Hayek, that's a difficult task.
Well, no, importantly, we don't start with Hayek. We start with simpler and shorter, more approachable, more digestible works of economics. Hayek eventually, but that might be a little too dense to start with.
Well, this is what we're kind of hoping for. I was of the thought that, everybody's libertarian, they just don't know it yet. And then a lot of the older guys, they go,
yeah,
nah, it's not like that, Ernie. There's some personality types.
Well, I heard it.
Gonna get it.
I heard it put a different way recently. I think it was the podcaster and comedian Dave Smith who said, everyone's a libertarian when the government comes for you. That's a spin on what you said, but I think that's slightly more accurate.
Yeah, except when they want you to wear a mask. I mean, it's that really was a IQ, Rorschach test for people, whether they're liberty oriented or not. So this is I'm really interested in what you guys think is your most effective outreach. Because what you're really trying to do, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, you're looking for those already inclined special, but you're not trying to beat the government out of some,
the Marxists and the communists and even your stock, leftist on a college campus, that's probably not someone who's going to join Students for Liberty. But there are plenty of people who are intellectually curious on college campuses. They want to read. They want to experience this. The universities were this place where you could go and you could find yourself. You could experience all kinds of different intellectual pursuits, and you could have open debates, and like that was the whole point, right? And so there are still students out there who see college that way. It's not just a 4-year party. And anyone who's sufficiently intellectually curious, I think, can become a libertarian.
Well, it can. All right, I'll do this with you. Why? Why did you gravitate toward libertarianism? Why did it ring with you? Why? What grandmother, coach, uncle, whatever book? Why was it popular with you? Why?
Well, I think to start with, I had a need for logical consistency. So you mentioned in my bio that I'm a big sports fan. Even as a kid, long before I had ever read anything pertaining to liberty, I wanted it. It would bother me when a certain rule or the application of a certain rule would be inconsistent. So, for example, in basketball, you can call a timeout during the middle of the game. Not when the play is stopped, but as the play is ongoing, if you have the ball, and that is inconsistent with, I guess you would say, the philosophy of sports. Like sports is this constant flow of action, and to be able to stop it arbitrarily, that's the kind of thing that would bother me. So a need for logical consistency. And I had a friend who
personality trait. It was this,
yeah.
Something your uncle shared with you, or it just was ingrained in your personality. What do you think?
No, I don't know how to explain it. It was just ingrained in me there. And when I discovered, first it was The Fountainhead by Ayn Rand, and then that led me down the rabbit hole. But when I discovered that there was a political approach, a philosophy that doesn't require being logically inconsistent, it doesn't require changing what you believe based on who's in the White House. I mean, that was catnip for me, and I took it from there, and now I dedicate my life to it.
Okay, wait. I heard you say it. You said it. Your first book was?
The Fountainhead.
Fountainhead.
Yeah.
Why? Why did you pick it up? Why did you read it? How did you even know about it?
A friend of mine, former boss actually, said, we started talking and said, hey, I think you should read this book. I didn't know anything about it, but I read it and I loved it, and I realized that it answered a lot of questions about individuality and why I felt so strongly, and I guess why I was so willing to stand up for what I believed in, and why I was so willing to stand out from the crowd, even when I was the only one. That had been another personality trait for me, even going back to middle school, high school. I was willing to bring a rolling backpack into school, a little suitcase, because I didn't want to hurt my back carrying around all these huge, heavy textbooks, and that kind of made me a bit of an outcast. But it never bothered me to be an individual. So that was something somehow was in my brain to begin with.
Well, the Fountainhead will kind of hone that a little bit. This is exactly the point that I keep making. I've done this before. I remember one woman, she's a professional, whatever, and asked her the same question. And she was active in, a lot of stuff. And it wasn't until the end she goes, oh, yeah, my brother gave me this book, and my brother, and then it was your brother. Well, with you, it was a friend that gave you the Fountainhead. This is the point that I'm making. One, you're kind of predisposed personality-wise, or way you were brought up, or a sense of justice, or your, ENINTJ, something. I mean, Myers-Briggs, whatever. But then you're triggered. Something explains it. The splinter in your mind gets pulled out, and you're going, oh, this is what it's about. For you, it was the Fountainhead. Made you more respectful of individual rights, the confidence to be an individual, that it's often the individual going up against the current that makes all the big changes anyway. So this is, to have that kind of, how old were you when you read the Fountainhead?
Oh, 24, 25.
Yep. How old are you now?
It was after college. Now I'm 34.
This is and keep in mind, when was that? That was right before the 2016 election cycle. You're going through that. It was after.
That's right. And in fact, so in Missouri, in the Missouri Democratic primary, I'm ashamed to admit that I voted for Bernie Sanders in the Democratic primary. But by the 2016 presidential election, so that's a difference of, I guess, 8 months or so from February to October. By that presidential election, I was not I didn't vote at all because I had gone full on anti-statist or anarcho-capitalist and didn't even believe in the ideology of democracy and voting. Um, so I went pretty far in that period of 8 months.
Comfortably, uncomfortably, what do you think?
Com What do you mean?
Well, I mean, you comfortable with that decision? You're able to defend
Yeah,
it. I'm not voting
yeah,
through the
yeah.
state.
I think voting is immoral. I think voting is an act of force against other people, trying to force other people to adhere to and act the way you want them to.
I'm
So,
respectful of that, but Lysander Spooner was kind of like voting in self-defense. Do you ever see any justification for that, or that too is tainted?
uh, yeah, yeah, I could see that, but um,
Yeah, trust the system first.
I don't think that's a compelling. It's not a compelling enough argument for me to go out and vote. Um, I think if you, to go back to Spooner, if you vote in some sense, you give license to whatever happens after that. You know, you put your stamp on it. Even if the candidate you don't vote for wins, you still participated in the system that
Yeah, you'd been
resulted
happy
in,
if you won.
yeah,
I win, so it's okay. You lost, you're just sour grapes now. So
yeah.
it's just, yeah, no, I get it. This is fascinating. This is exactly what I wanted to get to, is that a lot of people do not understand when was it that they were triggered. They had a fork in the road and they picked it up. I mean, they went this way, or even the path less traveled, or something, but they had to be predisposed to even notice that there was a choice, give a crap about it, not care if somebody was going to make fun of them or not. I mean, these are a lot of life experiences and the way you're brought up to even make you available to this message. Once you get it and understand it, it'll suck you in. And that's what I think they, them, those that won't leave us alone are afraid of.
And
They're afraid of this.
and perhaps one of the deepest and uh, most unfortunate ways that government and the system of voting that we're talking about reaches deep down into the human soul is that it turns off the interest and capacity to care about these kinds of issues, because it instills in us that all you can do is vote, and one vote out of 330 million, or with the Electoral College here in Missouri, one vote out of 10 million is so unlikely to matter that it disincentivizes you to really care. And these, I wouldn't even say politics, but let's call it philosophy or liberty is something that everyone should care about. But under the system of voting, as I see it, again, and let me clarify, I only speak for myself. I don't speak for Students for Liberty or anyone else. But as I see it, that when a vote only matters one out of 10 million times, you can't blame people for shrugging their shoulders and tuning out discussions about economics or tariffs or what have you.
Well, what are you advocating? Students for Liberty, you get new members, they come in, "Ooh, let's get some. We need that what? What do they need to do?"
Unfortunately, it's not that sexy. We need to have one conversation with people one at a time. Um, we need to be friendly and compassionate and open to people and show them that, libertarians are not crazy whack jobs who live on ranches in the middle of nowhere and have 1,000 guns or something like that, because I think that's a stereotype that exists. No, we need to show them that
Not that that's a bad thing.
no, not hey, not at all. But you can see that stereotype or that image might turn some people off. So no, what we need to be out there saying on college campuses, because that's where it starts, but that trickles out to the whole world. What we need to show people is that our philosophy is logically coherent, it's moral, and it's actionable. It's practical, as Ken Schooland would say. I can still remember him. I know you know Ken. I can still remember him counting 1, 2, 3, just like that in an interview that I did with him. And yeah, unfortunately, I don't think the answer is as sexy as going out and winning elections or starting a huge revolution, with protests in the streets. That can be one aspect of this, but the approach that I want to take, and I think Students for Liberty is successful at taking this approach, is communicating with people one at a time, first showing them that we're not crazy, then showing them that actually we do really care about the world and making the world a better place, and then that our philosophy is practical, it can be implemented, it has been implemented, it has worked, and that's how you change the world. I don't think it comes from the top down. It's never going to come from the political institution. It comes from the bottom up, starting with young people and students who maybe, a week from today at Thanksgiving will have a meaningful conversation with their aunt and uncle and their grandma who don't even know what libertarianism is. Maybe they plant a seed and that grows. That's my hope.
This is one thing that you were challenged on at the group. One gentleman there, an older guy that he's a Second Amendment author on different stuff, and we're good friends. We were sitting next to each other, and he's always giving me crap about, the numbers. He wants to know what's your metrics, what's your numbers, how many people, and even when the Ron Paul Revolution took off, it was always about, how many of them are revolutionaries and versus Republican, whatever. He doesn't understand the power of an inspired individual, and that was one thing I kept trying to bring up to you. I'm going, what is your target goal? Is it numbers, or is it individual? Is it influence? Is it that certain person at each university? I mean, what is it that you're marketing for in the Students for Liberty?
Well, I don't think it's easy to summarize with a number, because as you mentioned, we could have 10,000 people who only care a little bit. I'd rather have one person who cares a lot. So it's all about identifying the people who are gonna be sparked, who are gonna be ignited, who are then gonna be willing to maintain their campus group or their chapter all throughout their college years, and then pass the baton to someone else. So, I could rattle off a bunch of numbers that we're in 118 different countries, and that we had more applications in North America. I think they tripled over last year. But what we do with those top students is we invite them to retreats where they can connect, and you make these connections with other passionate students, and that multiplies. That multiplies your own interest in liberty and in activism, and that multiplies someone else's. So it's a network effect. We want to multiply, not just add one by one.
Well, the multiplication will come from leadership and inspiration and being tutored by people such as yourself that you're doing online and so on. My biggest thing is it's the quality of the people that represent the philosophy, because if you don't have someone that can answer, this is how it would go. As a young man, about your age, early 30s, I was exposed to libertarianism. And where you been all my life? I mean, holy crap, it's damn, finally. So I'd ask a lot of questions. Well, what about? Like those damn libertarians got an answer for freaking everything, which I have been told, you got an answer for everything, like it was a bad thing. I mean, so I'm going, okay, I get it. Freedom's the answer. What's the question? and that became a slogan with me. And freedom good, government bad, bad, bad. And when I say that, it's because I used to get up to like 7, 9 bad. Every time they do something stupid, you got to add another bad. Freedom good, government bad, 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 bad. The reason is that bad people doing bad things that they know is bad. That's the definition of evil. You got to have this evil. What's
but
evil?
I don't think it's that simple. I don't know if you can say that
simple enough.
I don't think they know it's bad is the part that I would disagree with. I do think people in government are bad and power hungry. You might say evil, but they have their own system of incentives that they're working toward. And that's the problem is the system. It's like don't hate the player, hate the game. I do hate the player, but I hate the game a lot more. Because
I understand that, but some people know.
They
know. When they know, that's evil. They know. Now,
yeah, but everyone in their own heart wants to make the world a better place, at least for themselves.
You're not old enough to know people that don't.
No, but at least for themselves. It might be so narrow that impulse, that instinct might be so narrow that it only applies to themselves. And it might be so narrow that it only applies to themselves in one day or in 1 minute. But that's what human action is all about from Mises, is that the only way that we can act, the only way that human beings can act and move forward in the world is if you can identify a state that's better, a state of being that's better, and then if you believe that purposeful action will lead to that outcome. So every action we take in some way, implied in that is the belief that we're making the world better. It's a question of scale. Is it better in 1 minute? Like if I go and eat an entire burrito and shove it in my face, I'll feel better in that minute, but maybe not in the long run. Is it just for me, or am I taking into account my children, my family? Am I taking into account others? So I don't think it's quite so simple as saying that everyone in government is evil, although I'm sympathetic certainly to that.
That's not what I
said.
Discussion. What I'm looking when I say freedom good, government bad, bad, bad. When I say bad, 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 it kind of evolved into, well, what do you mean? Why are they bad? To me, when they started saying, we had a logo that said, we know the truth, and it had the Levolution and Banksy throwing the bouquet of flower thing. And we know the truth. Truth? What truth? Subjective truth, your truth. Kind of, I go, not lies. Can I do that? So this is the semantics on these words and so on. So when I say there's evil, is there really evil? God damn Skippy there is. It's when bad people doing bad stuff that they know is bad. Now, some people may not know or they think it's good, but there are some people, they want that extra stripe to sit in the front seat in hell. I mean, it is bad. These people exist, and if you don't know that, you will. So this is what we are up against, in my opinion, evil intent. It's all about intent. Every activism that I ever went going up against they, them, those won't leave me alone. That's how I determined simply they just won't leave me alone. But what? I mean, God, you're killing me here.
Even the most ardent Marxist or communist, which are philosophies we know to be evil, immoral, awful, lead to just the deaths of hundreds of millions of people over the course of the 20th century. They think that their end goal is going to make the world a better place. I know it sounds I know it's crazy. I know it's wrong. No, it's wrong. I
understand exactly
but they
your
still
point.
think they're fighting for a better world.
I understand.
So
right
the battlefield
until the point
is
that they know that it's not. Then what? They go, yeah, but I don't care. I get my BMW.
Right.
Then what?
Then I'll meet you there. That is evil. At that point, it does become, evil.
I know a bunch of them. You want their names? I mean, this is.
Take your word for it.
We are up against this kind of thing. It's not the people that didn't know. It's not the people that kind of, well, it sounds cool, and I like Che Guevara on my t-shirt.
So does Zoran Mamdani? Do you think he knows? Like, is he evil, or do you think he really wants to make New York City a better place? I believe me, I hate to be straw man. I hate to be steel manning.
Great question.
I hate to be steel manning that side, but I think that's what we have to fight out there.
Okay, so let me ask you this question. Mamdani gets in. He gets, I don't know, what is it, a 4-year term or something for New York mayor? So he gets in. He implements his rent control. He does his price controls. He does minimum wage. He does, and everybody gets, free tacos.
Free buses, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he does that. As an anarcho-capitalist, do you believe that will make New York City more functional,
less? Of course not.
Well,
of course not.
What's going to happen?
Of course not, but it'll be...
No, just answer the question. What's going to happen in New York City?
Worse outcomes. The buses will become unusable. It'll be even more difficult to rent an apartment or buy a home. Like, downhill.
Expenses will go up.
Yeah.
Bifurcation.
Nothing good, and all the wealthy people will look to move to New Jersey or to Connecticut or to Texas or Florida. Yeah, and my favorite city in the world
is going to what? He's going to go. God, I could have had a V8. I could have been.
He'll blame it on capitalism even further. He'll say, "Oh well, that all this was in place already, because of capitalism."
Does he become at least a tool of evil? I mean, at some point, it's going to be freaking obvious. It's like, who do I look at? Who's the governor of California? What, Newsom? Do you think at some point he realizes that the policies are bad? At some point he has, and if he doesn't, then he's evil by default. We're just stupid. I mean,
stupid maybe. But I think we do a disservice to our cause when we lose sight of the humans behind these movements. Like, there are people in New York City, there are people in California. I mean, all the millions of Rust Belt voters who voted for Trump because they want to believe in something, because they're suffering. They want to believe in something, and Trump in those Rust Belt cities that have deteriorated, farmers who are out of work and down on their luck, or poor folks in New York City, they want to believe in something, and we can either give them a message of love and peace and liberty, or we can give them a message of you're evil and this guy you support is evil. I would like to take the former tack, although I understand philosophically and intellectually where that impulse comes from to cast everyone as evil, because like my mom died young, about 5 years ago. She died of a blood clot. And I know for sure in my heart that without so much government overreach into pharmaceuticals and regulations into licensing for the AMA and doctors, like, this could have been caught and identified if free market forces had been allowed to work so much sooner, and that I would still have my mom. So I hate with a passion the regulations and the totalitarianism and the socialism that is run rampant here in the United States and everywhere. I hate it. It's evil. Every fiber of my being screams against it. But if we want to convince people, that's not the approach we can take. We have to come at it from a place of love and understanding.
No, I agree, and I'm the love guy. The love illusion. It's all, witness, parable, testimony. It's kind of by example, inspiration, so on. Anybody that knows me knows I say the exact same thing. The difference is that I acknowledge that there is evil, that there are people that are bad, that know they're bad, that revel in it. It's like a religion. I had Melody Krell, Mel K, on the show a couple times, and she's Hollywood and been through this, and she went to visit her father in Florida in a retirement community. There was a 90-year-old, intelligence community guy that was there. Hollywood, huh? Yeah. Well, let me tell you what's what about Hollywood. Well, of course, she is an actress. She was in, several movies with De Niro and this kind of thing. But she was at it from a artist point of view. She wasn't just pretty. She went to NYU in film school and kind of, in the business of making movies. It was her interest, and she did some producing and so on. Well, the spirit cooking, the weirdness that was going on in Hollywood, the pedophilia, she started seeing it with fresh eyes from this guy, kind of looking in, she never would go to these parties, but then she'd start checking on, what the crap? By the time I had her on, she was hid out in a Manhattan apartment writing a book about a lot of this stuff, and she goes, it's a religion. These guys, it is a religion of malintent. It is who can get the mostest, the bestest, the way of kind of, and how many slaves do you got on your leash, kind of thing. So to think that you look at someone like Soros, well, he just doesn't know, He's just trying to control all the district attorneys so that he can better society by letting criminals out. I mean, come on. At some point, you got to realize what you're up against. That doesn't mean that everybody's evil that believes in, a chicken in every pot and 2 cars for each family. But the point is that I need to know what it is that you're using to identify Students for Liberty, to identify that passion, to identify the one that believes a bad system allowed his mother to die. Hunt for Red October, that later became, by Clancy, it became a movie with Sean Connery and Baldwin, whatever. In the book, they don't make the emphasis in the movie, but in the book, the reason he was willing to hand over this stealth submarine Red October, because it was an offensive weapon to the U.S., because his wife died for lack of penicillin. Their system could not supply the antibiotics to save his wife. And he goes, and I'm at the top of the heap here, submarine captain kind of one, I can't get antibiotics to save my wife's life. This system sucks. Well, that's exactly what you went through. So if you can identify these people, a sense of injustice from a system, or if you just, put something out that, resonates with their soul, like The Fountainhead or Anthem or We the Living or some other short stories like that, or the Philosophy of Liberty video.
Yeah,
I Pencil, which is it's just a book by Ella Reed that was about the complications of something as simple as a pencil. The wood, the fashion, the graphite that goes in it, the metal, the rubber for the eraser.
No one person can create a pencil.
And this was, there's a lot of examples of this, but I'm looking for the secret sauce. That's why I asked why a lot, or a new guest. Well, I want to know what you're looking for, or what has been the most productive of messages and methods for finding that 1, 2, 3 people at a large university of 50,000 plus people.
Well, it's all different things. A girl who had moved to the U.S. from Afghanistan, for example, she had started a nonprofit to teach girls and women in Afghanistan how to code, she taught them English, STEM skills, which are forbidden in Afghanistan for girls to learn in a lot of cases. She had started this nonprofit. And so she arrived at Berea College in Kentucky, met one of our local coordinators there, and yeah, that's it. That's a really impressive entrepreneurial spirit that she demonstrated. So entrepreneurship, someone who has tried and maybe succeeded, maybe failed to start a business or a nonprofit. Writing skills. We look at how well students express themselves, and how well they communicate, and do they have a sense of professionalism, or do we think that we can help build in them a sense of professionalism? Just students reach out to me all the time with blog posts that they want to publish, writing that they want to see published, and they're respectful. They follow up. They exhibit professionalism, and that's something that we want to see, but then also build so that they can show the next generation how to be professional and how to interact with colleagues in a respectful way.
There's a lot of videos you guys do, YouTube Shorts. You have a lot of material there.
On Learn Liberty, yeah.
Yeah, what is the most successful? What is the kind of, has there been a student that had some activist thing around the subject of a property right of whatever and exploded and your membership doubled? I mean, give me some examples.
Well, so Learn Liberty makes videos that, yes, are for students, but also go out to the general public. We have 300,000 subscribers. The most viewed video that I've worked on was called 8 Facts About the Second Amendment. That's up around 500,000 views. Some of our other videos from before I joined are above 1 million. Professor Anthony Davies, he's not a professor anymore, actually, but he was at Duquesne University for a long time. He was our most frequent guest, and his videos always performed very well. We would ask him philosophical questions. We would ask him, what are 7 myths that students learn about the Great Depression? And so he came at the Great Depression from an economist, a classical liberal economist point of view. Maybe my favorite video is still the first one I ever worked on, which was how Ayn Rand inspired the Rush album 2112. So these are two of my loves, classic rock and liberty in one. And that video performed really well. So I guess there's not really a secret sauce. It's more of an art than a science. We just released a video about Brexit, so that's kind of more newsy. We released one about how classical liberal thinking will improve your mental health. I really liked that one. It didn't get a ton of views, maybe 3,000 or so, but if one of those 3,000 views, if it really resonates with that one person, that could be huge in a way that 400,000 views, if it doesn't really resonate with anybody, might not be.
Rush was popular. I graduated high school in 79.
They're going to be touring again, I heard, by the way.
They're all alive?
Not all of them, but enough to call themselves Rush.
They're one of the songs, if you choose not to make a decision, you still have made a choice. And that was point. I wasn't a big Rush fan because I like being able to understand the words without having to read the lyrics. I mean, that's just, my preference. But,
sure.
Rush was very popular with a lot of my friends because of its freedom-oriented mindset. I think it was the drummer that was libertarian or something that kind of, did that. And this is my point. You have that one person in a band, that one person in a group, that one person at your high school, that one person at your university, that logic, reason, leads with love and compassion and empathy, like you're saying. Not everybody's evil. It doesn't agree with them. They kind of go Charlie Kirk on them. Be a little firm, but want to explain it to them. So then you have guys like this. What's his name? Nick Fuentes, I'm just not a fan. I'm not really, super inspired by the method and so on. But, you ask Grok, you go, all right, what is with this Fuentes guy? Why is he so popular with young men? Because they want that, whatever it is, got attention or what's it saying.
Edginess, yeah.
Yeah, whatever it is. Authenticity. This non-scripted motif of whatever young guy. So and you wonder how much is that pushed by the platforms or the bad guys. I mean, there's something, you're always getting the influences that bring about a lot of things that are generally side effects of something else. Trump, a side effect of the frustration of, are you kidding me? This misogynist, a bunch of males out, and he's out petting pussies and getting elected, So this is, you can see this as you get older. I'm 64, and I've been in this nose to grindstone since the late 80s.
Hey, the Beatles wrote a song for you, by the way. When I'm 64.
Good point. Oh, yeah. When I'm 64. Okay, this is going to be, I wanted to talk about, because it just happenstance, serendipity, that I was talking to you this morning after James Corden and I made a decision last night we're going to do a project. Ken Schoolin that you're talking about, it is, it's called Liberty International. Now, it used to be International Society for Individual Liberty, but the initials for that was ISIL. And that became a terrorist group, and they just got hammered on, DDoS. Oh, screw it, we got to change our name.
And by the way, I don't know if you remember this, but I always referred to it as ISIS, the terrorist group, that is. But Barack Obama would always refer to it as ISIL. And I never knew why. I never knew why. I thought they were linked in some way, but I thought there was some political reason for calling it ISIL instead of ISIS. Anyway, I digress. Go on.
No, I was of the same mind. ISIL was becoming a thing, and they go, hell no. And one of the reasons was the philosophy of liberty video. Maybe I kept it up here. Did I keep it? Yeah. The philosophy of liberty is a very simple animation. It's been around for decades and was the fountainhead for a lot of people. It was Anthem. It was We the Living. It was, Atlas Shrugged. It was something that got people thinking in the way of what liberty is about. It's about self-ownership. And you don't have any government, it's to promote and support individual rights. So what we decided, and the reason we started late, I was talking with Trevor, because I got to, see him present, and, and I liked him, and he's effective at what he does. But the main thing was, James Corbett and we created open source education.online. And it's a featured documentaries that he's done, that the ones that I was really on his butt for years going, look, man, we need to feature a lot of the people. And, what made you a libertarian? I don't know, a Facebook account in 3 months, that kind of thing. Not anymore. I mean, you're not allowed to see, and you have to see, and whatever, and you're banned, and not, it's very controlled more than it used to be. Because I grew up as a libertarian activist from the 90s, and the internet was dominated by libertarian philosophy. You go on the net, we got to explain it to you, get you the truth. Well, when the lamestream media, the media so last century, realized that they lost the eyeballs and ears of all these tens of millions of people a day that they thought they could do, now they're lucky if they can get 500,000 people to watch something. But this has been, the philosophy of liberty was a thing. And we've made use, I can go a long story about how many times we've done it, but I want to resurrect that. James is going to do a documentary on it and a show. Ken Schoolin from International Liberty is the genesis of this thing that was put together from his writings and so on, that he used to do PSAs on a friend's radio stations in Hawaii, like 3-minute economic lessons. He wrote a book called The Adventures of Jonathan Gullible. Now, you have that book. Explain to the audience what that book is about.
It's the main character is very simple and naive and pure, and He I forget, he gets lost, he gets stranded on a desert island where he experiences everything the government does just in miniature form. So, what to they're what are they? They're digging holes just to make people, just so that they can say that there's employment. Um, and what else? I mean, there's a man who has to walk. He sees a man who has to walk on his knees, because he's otherwise so athletic and graceful that he would have an advantage over others, right? And so these are all examples in miniature of how government regulations stifle creativity, stifle agility, physical agility in this case, stifle all the good things in life. I guess that's how I'd put it.
It's kind of a parody of the.
It's a parody, yeah.
Of Jonathan Gulliver's Travels or something, the Lilliputians kind of, the Lilliputians government kind of thing, and it's kind of a Harrison Bergeron kind of deal,
Yeah, I think that's the other book that I was thinking of. That made an immediate connection there, or short story.
But oh my God, to get somebody to read a book, I mean, that's like a thing right there. So this is a short 8-minute video that had a big impact on our generation in the 90s and early 2000s.
And the internet is kind of free market libertarianism distilled down into like its purest form, wouldn't you say? I mean, it's because especially in the 90s, it was kind of the Wild West of people creating websites and forums and talking to each other, and early eBay was a way you could get anything, and now I don't know if it's quite like that. It's a little more corporatized, but
what happened?
That was our ideas in action. The internet.
Here comes PayPal. Here comes eBay. Then they. eBay buys PayPal and they merge, and YouTube and all the video services got sucked up by Google, ABC to be able to, explain it to us. But in the beginning, it was libertarian philosophy versus philosophy. It was, oh, you want to know about the Second Amendment? Oh, you want to understand the proper role of government? Oh, you want, and free speech, whatever, libertarian explain it to you, and they didn't like it. So this is, as it evolved, from when you say the Wild West, my experience was you would go on, an email list that you would get on, and you would, some forum or something that were liberty oriented, you could ask any question and get a reasoned, logical, professional, I do this for a living, doctor, lawyer, judge, law enforcement, plumber, whatever, would be able to give you a real life example explanation, and they were libertarian minded. And you would, any question, it was like asking Grok. It was amazing. But then here come the bots, here come the trolls, here comes the surveillance state, here came, the intelligence community, here came. And you could see it happen. As time goes on, then you have, freedom, muscled its way out anyway, and you got the Levolution with Ron Paul. You get, whatever pale in comparison versions of that. But that was the target. They go, no, deplatformed, shadow banned, canceled. You couldn't have these popular ideas that would change entire societies. And if it started in the streets, a lot of people don't know, they're in the streets in Italy, they're in the streets in Ireland, in the streets in London, in the streets all across Africa and Asia, against government oppression. You have to surveillance, you're not allowed, and you got us. And I'm going, and a lot of it's, immigration stuff or whatever. I mean, it is amazing. And then what do? Like they did in Iran. They just shut down Facebook, Twitter, whatever. You're not allowed to communicate. In Tiananmen Square in China, you're not allowed to have a fax machine. You're not allowed. Arab Spring, they were flying around with USB sticks, going to other countries in Europe so they could broadcast what was going on. This always happens. Every freaking time. Libya starts, I remember in '03, I first started doing radio. Libya's starting to go, we need a go back dinar kind of, we need to come down. Boom! The entire country of Libya, internet was shut off. Later, they drug anchors across and did the same thing.
And that happened
India and Egypt.
And that happened recently in Nepal. I wrote about one of our students there, Prasidika Dungana, who took part in some protests against the shutting down of like 25 different social media sites in her country. I mean, you hear these stories. I hear them, and I'm privileged enough to get to write about them, but I hear these stories, and I really am grateful to be in the U.S., where at least so far that kind of thing can't happen, or would be very unlikely. I fear moving in that direction, but it does humble me, as much as I hate the regulatory state and the alphabet soups of the CIA and TSA and DEA that we have here in the U.S. By and large, all things considered, with those caveats, we have things pretty good here in the U.S.
Well, John Mugabe, from Uganda, when was it? Last night. Yeah. And, no, the night before, I think. But he was chastising Americans because they don't realize how much free speech they have that they're not using. Because, he's like, man, we couldn't do what you guys do here in our country. It wouldn't be allowed. And we should make more use of it, but there are a lot of ways to speak out. A lot of times just by example and, inspiration to your family and friends by just living the life. And that's one thing as Christians, they were like, well, how do you evangelize? How do you get people? By being an example.
Yeah.
Hey, man,
and ultimately, yeah. Well, and that kind of brings us full circle, right? Because you asked how Students for Liberty operates and what we think the solution is, and how we, and I said, I don't know if we can start a revolution in the streets, but we can be an example. That's exactly it. We want our students to dress in suit and ties and have good conversations and be friendly and compassionate and well-educated and be an example to others, to their peers on college campuses who badly, desperately need examples to look up to of people who are well-read, well-educated, smart, compassionate, well-spoken. That's little by little how we change the world.
In the 90s, that was a big push by, libertarian organizations, advocates for liberty, the Libertarian Party and everything. You don't look good enough. You got to cut your hair and put on a tie, and that didn't really resonate with a lot of it. I mean, we campaigned, we'd wear suit and tie and all that kind of stuff. We didn't want to be a distraction, but it was emphasis on things that, a lot of us just didn't think really mattered. It needed to be more the people. But I understand what you mean. You want to be presentable. You don't want to be an embarrassment or a distraction. But to have that, they pick one person over another because he looks better in a suit and tie, as opposed to espousing the principles. I see the balance way heavy on philosophy more than their appearance. Which is why. A lot of people rise to prominence and then they become a distraction because their philosophy doesn't fit, so you got to be careful with that. This is something that we're going to be doing this project December 3rd. James Corbett and I are going to be hosting Ken Schooland to talk about this project. And by that time, we may be almost done and ready to launch it, for Christmas. 2 Christmases ago, we launched the open source education.online thing, and that was very successful, and that's building. Well, I want to make this part of that, and, the big giant crowd of James, is going to help, and the Levolution isn't going to hurt. So I'd like to have you participate in this, at least in some way, to give, some credit, because you're in with international liberty. Ken Schooland's staying anyway, And
I,
what
I'm
is
I'm actually I know Ken, but I'm actually not connected with Liberty International. I have friends and I know Ken, but I don't have a connection to them.
we're gonna fix that. Here we go. We all need to have some at least awareness of and doing, the resources and tools. And this,
And we have had his wife Lee Schooland speak at LibertyCon events that are SFL events. She and we've actually featured her on a video recently on Learn Liberty. So we do have that connection. She appeared on how communism, the Chinese Communist Party, twisted ancient Chinese wisdom. That was another video I really liked.
yeah, he's in Toronto right now, going to Hawaii Monday, and after that we'll start working on this project. But it was great being able to, it's interesting that we have a little bit of disagreement that we can fine tune and hone, what our focus is and why and our experiences. It's not just everybody kumbaya all the time. That's boring. But, it is, I wanted to give you an opportunity to pimp what you do, because Learn Liberty and your video presence online and so on, tell us about that. Because what are your donors and so on expecting in return? You didn't get 1 million likes. You're doing it wrong. What is it that they're looking for?
Well, so what we've found success with recently is to use our videos as sort of a lead magnet. So we have also started creating email courses that are built around the videos that we release. So, for example, we did a video, lessons from Thomas Sowell, and we created a follow-up email course where we actually do where I did a lot of the hard work and the writing. Yeah, if you keep scrolling down one more, it's under videos. Nope, go back up. If you click on videos, yeah, there you go. 7 ways to think like Thomas Sowell. So videos themselves weren't necessarily bringing in applications to our programs, but when we said, hey, if you reach out to us and sign up for this email course to engage more deeply with these ideas from Thomas Sowell, here are the books to read. Now we're really cooking. Now we find people who don't just want to watch a video, but want to really engage with these ideas and incorporate them in their lives. So that's been our latest success, and we continue to do that. In the video we just released about Brexit, we offered, and these are free courses, we offered a free course about the economics of tariffs. So that's been our strategy lately.
If you were to promote something, would it be this?
These videos, yes.
Okay, now
the Learn Liberty YouTube channel.
Well, the whole channel, or what is your highlight of? See, that's like what open source education.online with Corbett is. He's done hundreds, thousands of videos, but it's really curated for the most impactful, informative, get your mind right kind of stuff. What would that be on your channel?
The one I liked the most recently was called How I Stopped Hating the World. It's about how classical liberal thinking can improve your mental health. I really believe that the ideas of liberty, by encouraging individual responsibility, make you stronger. If you scroll up, go down just a touch, it'll be How I Stopped Hating the World. Yeah, on the left. And there's me in the thumbnail with a red pill and a blue pill. This is one that didn't get a ton of views, but I believe that if the right person was in that view count, this video could make a big difference in their life. And it's a personal story because as I told you, I was a leftist and I did hate the world. And I don't think that's a coincidence that I became more optimistic and realistic and positive and responsible for myself around the same time I found libertarianism.
Okay, this is my contribution to the movement is this. I use Freedom's Phoenix as an amplifier for as a tool. It's a crazy guy at the festival dancing on the side of the grassy hill. Well, I'm the second or third guy, okay? I'm going, yeah, that guy's doing right over there. Hey, everybody look up. And then it starts a thing. Then I go to the next crazy guy dancing on the hill. This is the hills. And I want to, and James and I will use that function to revitalize International for Liberty, to give a lot of attention to Learn Liberty, to be able to amplify a lot of this stuff. And I would like to get it going before students go back after the Christmas break.
Yeah.
Because, we do this a lot of times in August, as they're going back, or after the holidays. So it's, we're going to be doing this, and I don't suspect that, you'll kind of get it, okay, Crazy Ernie, they're going to do, and he's done before, but, whatever, and kind of, you have no idea what I see coming. It's not, you don't have the, I don't know, the exposure, life experience, or just how we do stuff that we make this stuff pop. And it's in the headwind of being in opposition to the interest of they, them, those. I'm telling you, it's not as easy as people think. But I see an opportunity here to take what you're doing and use it. Like, that's why I want you to focus on which one of these is going to go to that, college campus kid that's, 19 and a half, a sophomore at the University of Communist Central, and they get this and embrace it and go, oh my God, thank you. The same way each of us have done when we have been presented with the truth.
Yeah.
And a lot of them go, truth? What truth? I'm like, not lies. Libertarianism is not lies. At least I give it that,
Well, yeah, no, I'd be honored to collaborate with you. Send me, you've got my contact information. Keep in touch and send me some more information. If there's a way that we can work together, I'd love that.
Well, what is it that how I stopped hating the world? You think that promotional of that one you'd be happy with?
Yeah, that one's
it's only got 2,500 views. We'll fix that.
I think that one's as good as any. That's the most personal one to me. So start there, and if that doesn't work, we got plenty more where that came from.
This is, and of course, Thomas Sowell. One of the things, promote Sowell because he was just a great mind. It was amazing how, certainly the black community. Wait, there's a black libertarian Australian economist guy. What the hell? That never really comes up in libertarian circles, but all of a sudden it's a big impact with other people. They just had, they just had no idea that black people, knew a lot about liberty. That's a thing. So this is those two, I think, but certainly whatever gets you motivated, this is what we're going to do. Ken Schoolin and I, you know of him. They're in the community, kind of the older, traditional, been around before the internet kind of thing. And then a lot of our Revolutionary activism, Ron Paul contacts and so on. Young Americans for Liberty is kind of more contact. We talked to those guys before, and they were at his birthday party last August. And then we have, James Corbett and what he has to offer with this, and of course the Revolution, Freedom's Phoenix, and the show. So this is what I'm going to demonstrate what we do. At a fundamental, basic seed, you will hear more about it in 5 to 10 years than you will within 10 hours or 10 months.
Let me give you an example of something that one of our students did in Colombia that you might find interesting. So, say you're in a room full of students, and you tell them, bring 5 items with you. It could be pencils, whatever, from their backpacks, whatever. Bring 5 items and say you may not trade any of your 5 items with anyone else. No trading allowed. And then you allow the trade of 1 item, and then slowly you allow the trade of 2 items. So you slowly but surely you're opening the free market, and then ask them at the end under which system did you like best? Which system do you prefer? 0 trading allowed, 1, 2, 3, or 5. Simple, very basic activity that instills the idea of free markets and free trade.
This is, we need, I know you got to go. We're going to let you go, but I wanted to make sure that you understand the genesis of our purpose here, what we do. And you're such an opportunity. Damn Skippy, I'm an opportunist. These things come together. It's all serendipity. I come and meet you. We get to hook up with Arizona Project. They get to share what inspired them, and Philosophy of Liberty had a thing. Then I talk to James Corbett and find out that's what started him. It was had a big impact on me. I know Ken Schoolin, that was the origination of this. I'm like, oh, hell yeah. And we already have the infrastructure to do it. We take Students for Liberty, emphasize what you guys think is effective, get you on board with this, and it's nothing. It's video. You do what the hell you want, or not. I don't care. But I'm going to show the impact of a seed, a splinter in the mind of college, high school age people, and you'll see what happens. I guarantee it. Just say it.
That's what it's all about. That's what it's all about.
Trevor Kraus, go ahead and pimp, whatever site you definitely want people to go check out.
Learn Liberty. The Learn Liberty YouTube channel, and the success stories that are on the Students for Liberty website.
Boom. Trevor, thanks for coming on. This is awesome. I think we're going to have, a continuing relationship just because I already know.
Absolutely. It's been a pleasure talking with you, and we will definitely keep in touch. Reach out anytime.
Thank you. Peace, brother.
Bye-bye.